Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Southern Outdoorsman Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about one of our last big camps of the year, where we just went down, hunted a swamp, hunted a lot of swampy stuff, like we've been talking about all season. And we're going to do some listener Q and A's. If you want to skip ahead to any of those Q and A's, there are timestamps down in the description below. But Mr. Jacob Myers, how are you doing?
Doing well, doing real well.
You goofy son of a gun.
I say doing well. I mean, God, man, I've gone for 0 for 3 on these river bottom hunts this year. So
The confidence is shaking. Well, it's coming back, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, found some good stuff. But just we're going to talk a little bit more about. But I was telling a listener, which kind of go into this point of what we're going to be talking about on this hunt. A listener actually got me on camera while we were going back to an area, and I was just talking to a whole bunch. And I told him, I'm like, dude, my hunt from the 2022 season in Arkansas gave me a false sense of confidence with river bottom hunting. And since then,
You feel like you just got lucky?
I probably, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I say that. I mean, I got on a bunch of bucks, like in areas that we actually hunted again, but I never really hunted some of those same spots like this. Well, yeah, we'll talk more about. But
all right, so we had a deer camp down in South Alabama at a kind of a swampier place that I've got a little bit of history with. I've hunted it in the past. You haven't really ever hunted it before, and for years I've been telling you we need to go down there and try it out. And so we did, and we were, the rut is a little bit finicky in Alabama. Like we run to February 10th, but it just depends on where you're at. Like places that have a rut that like truly goes into February, it's not as many places as you would think. Like the way that people talk about it, you think that like, the very end of January and early February is like super hot in all of Alabama. But if you look at a rut map, it's actually kind of spotty. Like the vast majority of the state is mid-January, early to mid-January, and there's parts that are into February.
There's parts that, especially as you get into like southern Alabama, that like if you look at the rut map, it says it goes into February.
Well, we thought we were walking into a rut fest, and that was just not the case. I think we missed it.
Yeah,
missed the boat a little bit,
or just missed the areas. I mean, the funny thing is, we were talking to guys at camp that they had success killing bucks. Some of them, I talked to one of our buddies who was down there, and they had a guy close to their camp that killed a real nice 10-point, and some other they had to kill some other deer down there, some other bucks, and we're doing some rutting activity, cruising, checking on does, bumping some does, but I was like, we never saw any of that, and some other guys that we talked to and other guys we had in camp with us, didn't see any of that at all. So it makes it kind of tough, because that's one thing we rely on, especially. And I was telling this listener that too. One thing I rely on this kind of late season hunting, even though it's still like classified as the rut in a lot of the places we're hunting, I'm relying on that rutting activity kind of set up for transitions and pinch points and stuff. And when that activity is not as heated up as you would think it would be, you go sits and you're like, man, there's sign, I might be seeing some does, but it's like just not seeing the bucks, man. It makes it super tough.
Yeah, no, it does. We hunted this area. I think we talked about it last week. We actually went on a small game hunt in the same general area, and scouted some areas through small game hunting. And actually, this is the same place where way back in the summertime we did a scouting trip, and me and you went out and we looked, and we found all these blowed down trees from a storm that we thought were going to get thick over the summer. And when we went on that small game trip, we did this huge loop. We went in a different way than we went in the summer. Did a giant loop, walked like 6.5 miles, and went to that area, and it didn't really get thick like we thought it would, and it was void of sign. I mean, there were some tracks and stuff in there, but very, very light deer sign compared to, as we'd find out, when you're on the deer in this place. This is a higher deer density area. When you're on the deer in this place, the sign is like unbelievable. Yeah. And there was just, especially now, knowing all we know, looking back at that, I'm like, yeah, that sign was really underwhelming.
And you know what was impressive? We got a lot of different pieces of public in the state that, because of these late season hunts, late season gun hunts that have, rutting activity going on, you get some non-resident pressure, which is kind of like the only time of the year I really think we ever get non-residents. But the amount of people, we didn't talk to a lot of people, but the amount of people that we talked to, like in and around camp, that was from like Tennessee, Georgia,
Kentucky.
Kentucky. There was another guy. There's really those states. I think maybe Florida. I think might have heard somebody that came up from Florida as well, hunting up there. But it's just it's kind of, I mean, it's interesting, first off, that because some of these other states, whether their season's closed, like Georgia's closed, most of Tennessee's closed except for like Western Tennessee, and I think Kentucky's closed as well.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to like stretch their season out. But most of those people that I talk to, they're like, man, we just came down here to shoot pigs. We kill a buck, awesome. But if we shoot
Yeah.
pigs, we'll be super happy. I'm like, have fun with it.
Yeah, they're the guys that were staying next to us were like that. They were really just pig hunting, but one of them actually ended up missing a big buck. But uh, when we went down, you got down a day earlier than me, and you actually hunted one of the places that we hunted woodcock
Hmm.
the weekend before, and just kind of got your tail handed to you. I could hear. I wasn't down there yet, but when I called you, I could just hear the confidence was gone,
Gone.
gone.
Yeah.
And I had this area. I was planning on just me hunting it because like I told y'all about it, but no one acted very interested in the area. So I'm like, whatever, it's just gonna be me. And then you were like, well, I'm just gonna go hunt over here in this spot. So you go over there that morning, and you're just convinced you're gonna kill one. And then I call you, and you're all depressed and mopey. And I'm like, dude, just go over here. Like, go park in this spot, walk into this area, and just check it out, see what's in there. Like, I hadn't even really been into it yet. I'd gone in there and put a camera out, but the camera like died. So I hadn't been getting pictures on it for 2 weeks.
Hmm.
But before it died, I had some pictures of some pretty good deer, and I was like, just go in there and check, at least see if the camera's there. And eventually, I think you like drove around and everything. And you were
Hmm.
trying to go here and trying to go there. I was like, just go to that spot. And then
Yeah.
you tried to go there, and lo and behold, you run into somebody that we know.
Yeah. Our buddy Clint.
It was already there.
Yeah, and but yeah, so that first hunt, I went to a spot where again we small game hunted, found a ton of sign, like a ton of fresh sign, scrapes, rubs, tracks, everything. And actually, while I was driving there, dude, I probably saw 40 deer on the side of the roads.
Yeah.
Like the deer were just freaking everywhere, man. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be freaking killer. I'm gonna get back there, dude. Slip behind where some of these deer are at, and when they go back to bed, I'm about to freaking bust one about 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, and that did not happen. Did not happen. Did not see a single deer that whole day. I didn't see a single deer.
Yeah.
Oh, well, was that the day?
Was that the day that you got shot at?
I think I got shot at. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it
I
was.
saw two deer walking into that other spot, the third spot, after getting a shot at, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, so it was just, dude, it was crazy because again, I got in there and I could hear other trucks driving on the roads and stuff like that, but I didn't have anybody walking on me, which I was thankful. Also, kind of surprised that it didn't happen, and just ended up as it got to maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. We had all of our me, Zach, and Muzzy had all of our rain gear with us because it was supposed to rain. It rained a whole bunch on this hunt, and I was hunting in my whole rain gear, and it was like it had been raining all that morning in the dark, and then when I was walking, it was still kind of raining,
Mhm.
and it kind of just stopped by like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. But I was like, man, at any point I got back there, awesome transition line. I mean, just like we talked about, we're like 3 or 4 different habitat edges all came together in this one area. And I'm like, man, if a buck's going to be coming cruising through this stuff, because one thing about, especially as you get like further south, just like where we're at, like in more like kind of the upper part of Alabama, is like you have a lot of pines, and like typically in areas with pines, because of like the limb structure of pines, as long as they're not like really tightly packed together, as in they haven't been thinned, you're gonna have like a pretty thick understory, and that's exactly how this area was. And you just had like this really nice little drainage that came through that had a little bit of hardwoods around it, and you had all these edges coming through. I'm like, man, this is gonna be the spot a buck's gonna come cruising. Walked in the dark, found some sign walking in the dark, tracks, a bunch of scrapes that we had seen previously, new fresh big rub in that area, but got set up and just nothing happened, which was unfortunate. But I get back to the truck, and when I get back to the truck, actually I was talking to you on the phone, and we had another truck roll up. Another guy rolled. He rolled up, and
Oh yeah.
I saw him, and I was like, man, Andrew, let me, like, this guy like waved at me, pulled up right in front of the truck. I was like, man, Andrew, let me let you go. Let me go talk to this guy. Ended up talking to the guy for like an hour and a half. Turns out he's met you on a different piece of public land in South Alabama.
So yeah, I didn't realize that, but I'd actually run into him before.
Mhm.
And when he started explaining it to me, I didn't remember at first, but when he explained it, I remember exactly when it was. It was remember. Do you remember? I filmed that buck running across the marsh,
Yeah.
and like yeah, I showed him the video and everything after I ran into him because he was hunting the exact same area.
Yeah. And again, another one of those pieces of public kind of in South Alabama. But anyways, he came and talked to me, and we started talking for a little bit. And I saw, man, I'm like, dude, he's wearing Kuiu. He's talking about saddle hunting and all that stuff. I'm like, I bet you this guy knows about the podcast. And finally, he noticed the old blaze orange hat right here, which, guys, you can still pick up on the website, southernoutdoorsman.com. Show notes down below if you want to pick up one of those hats. And he's like, are you part of Southern Outdoorsman? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm one of the hosts, Jacob Myers. He's like, man, I've watched you guys on YouTube. I'm like, you listen to podcasts? He's like, no, I don't really listen to podcasts, but I watch you on YouTube. And he's like, actually, I think I ran into you guys on XYZ Piece of Public back in 2018. And I'm like, I don't know if you ran into me because I've only hunted down there once. I've hunted down there a couple times, but I don't ever remember running into anybody.
I think it was me and Mark Turner.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say when y'all had got back. Because did Mark kill a doe on that hunt?
Yes.
Okay, it was that day. Okay, that's what I thought. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, I ran into Andrew before. Anyways, we just started talking, and he was actually looking to come hunt that same area. I'm like, dude, you can go back there if you want, but I'm not going to be back. Like, I scouted my way back to the truck, like just under a mile back to the truck, and I didn't see anything that was, like, worth me coming back to. So if you feel confident in the area, have at it, but I'm going to move to a different area. He's like, oh, well. He's like, dude, he's like, I trust you. That's fine. He's like, I'll check out some other spots and see what I can get into. And we started talking about some other areas. And he mentioned this one area he wanted to go to, and just had to cross like a big flooded out area. And I'm like, do you have hip waders or waders? He's like, no. And he showed me he's got his rubber boots on, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna get wet. Like some of that flooded timber area and stuff like that, water's a lot deeper than you think it is. And I'm like, but if you want to go in there, go at it. So we split off. I told him I was going to go check out another spot. I went scout another spot. Really found some stuff that looked good, but ended up moving to a different area after talking to you. But he went into that area and ended up, he started walking across. I was texting the guy, and his name's Jason. I was like, man, if you kill one, let me know. And, dude, I drove out to this other area, started driving. There's just trucks all over the place, which is typical. Again, these late season hunts down in South Alabama, if you are not at your spot at 3:45 to 4 o'clock in the morning, or if you're getting in past noon, there's probably somebody at the more common parking areas, and that's exactly how it was. And it was like 1 o'clock by the time I started moving. And like 2:30, I'm driving out to this other spot, and I look at my phone, and I'm walking to a new area, and he texts me. He's like, got one, and like sent me a photo. I'm like, you are kidding me. Which is kind of cool. He shot it off the ground, and you actually later on helped him get it out.
Yeah, so I got down there a little bit later than you at that point. I ran into you when you were starting to walk into the spot you eventually went to, I guess, after you ran into Clinton and the spot I was trying to get you to go into and all that.
What'd you say? What'd you call him?
Clint?
Oh, I thought you said Clinton.
Oh, Clinton. No. So the spot that Jason went into, which is the guy that you ran into.
Yep.
The spot he was going into is the same general area that I wanted to hunt, except he was going in from the north, and Clint was parked on the south side of it. Mm-hmm. So I was telling you to access from the south, and Clint was there, so you couldn't do it. And then Jason went to the north, so you really couldn't get in there. And there is another way, but there was 100% trucks there.
Yeah,
you don't even have to go look. There are trucks there every time. And so I drove down this little road that I've actually never driven down because I didn't know that that's where Jason was. I didn't know anything. You told me that you ran into him and that you talked to him, but I didn't know like who he was or where he was hunting or whatever. And I go pulling down the road, and you described what he was driving, and I see that his vehicle. I was like, oh, that's that guy that Jacob was talking to. And I'm getting ready to turn around, and then I see him walk out from behind his truck. I'm like, oh, he's back at the truck. And I pull up, and he's like, hey, what's up, man? Or I roll down the window. He's like, I know you. And I was like, really? And yeah, he explained everything about when we ran into each other before. And he's like, yeah, I just got one. And he's showing me pictures. And it's a good deer, man. It's a nice 8-point. And we get to talk about where he was. And I cannot help but notice that he is soaking wet from about mid-thigh down. And I want to go like help him get the deer out because, like, first of all, I was hoping I could walk in that way, and so I was asking him, I'm like, hey, what was that walk like? Because he told me it was his third buck. He's like, dude, if you want to go in there, go. Like, I'll walk in there with you, like whatever. If you want to hunt this, like I'm done. It's all yours. And um, I was like, well, I want to go walk in there because he also mentioned he's like, yeah, if you wanted to walk in there and help me get this deer, I wouldn't be mad about it. I was like, well, I've only got one pair of boots. I want to help the guy, but I'm like, dude, I've only got one pair of boots and I'm here for 3 days and I can't flip these boots on like day one. He's like, well, I got an extra pair of boots. I'm like, okay, I'm in. So I throw his boots on and we go striking off back in there. And yeah, we go through that first marsh. You have to cross like multiple like swamp little slough things. And we go through the first one and it's not bad. I didn't flood my boots. And then we get to this little landmass and it's kind of like strips of land that go through there. Hit that first landmass and we find a magnum rub. I'm talking about a magnum, as big as the ones that you
about size that
no
mason
like
jar.
as big as the ones that you and Mike found, like that big. And
well, describe it for people.
Like the tree is a little bit smaller around than a basketball, and it's rubbed. It's clearly been rubbed for years.
What do you think the diameter is of a basketball injury? I'm real curious.
I don't know actually. That's good.
I know you probably never touched a basketball.
So,
because I remember the number you told me, and if the number you told me is accurate in inches,
oh, I don't think I said a number, did I?
Jason did.
What did Jason say? Well, don't put words in my mouth. That's what Jason said.
Okay.
What did Jason say?
About 8 inches.
I say I should know this because I went to the school of forestry and we had to measure a whole bunch of trees. But yeah, no, I'm bad at eyeballing it. I'm not gonna lie. I need to get one of those little forestry tape things. That
is a big rub, but dude, a basketball is probably.
Well, I said smaller than a basketball, son.
A little smaller.
A little smaller than a
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's Magnum Rub. It's a big one. Okay, it was significantly bigger than your Nalgene bottle. Like definitely bigger than your Nalgene.
That's about 4 inches.
Okay, so maybe it's about 6.
Okay, you should know what 4 inches looks like.
All right, we're gonna end this conversation right there. Anyways, so we saw that big giant rub, found some tracks, and then he showed me where. So what happened is he was walking to his spot. He walked in, got in a tree, kind of got disoriented, climbed, and he's one sticking. We found out Jason is wild with his one sticking. This joker climbs to the tip top of the tree.
Well, let's talk about this because this is something. I've never met someone that did this, okay, guys? Because
he carries 120 feet of rope.
110 foot. Now you over-exaggerate.
No, he said 120.
I thought he said 110.
Nope, he said 120.
Okay.
He carries 120 feet of rope with him.
Sometimes, but his main line is 80 foot.
Yeah.
So, so when I hear somebody talking, with a climber, we talked about some podcasts before, guys, and they're like, man, I'm getting to 35 feet or 40 feet or something like that. A lot of times people, they may be pretty accurate, but also a lot of times they kind of misjudge distance because I've done it too. A lot of people have. It's not like you're going through a tape measure, unless you got, 40 foot of pull-up rope, it's hard to kind of tell. Most guys are carrying 30-foot pull-up rope. So if you're telling me you're getting to 40 feet and you're pulling your stuff up, I mean, you definitely have a long pull-up rope. But he was telling us, and at first I did not believe the guy. He's like, dude, I climb like down here. He said down here's a little bit different. He's like, I might climb to 50 feet.
Yeah.
But a lot of places I hunt back home, he's like, I'm climbing 80 plus feet up a tree. And I'm like, I'm just throwing through my head. I'm like, there's no way you're climbing 80 foot. Climbing giant pine trees. And he's like, I've climbed higher than that. Like I take 110 foot of rope sometimes. If I'm sitting on a clear cut with 20 foot tall pines, like it's not clear cut at that point. It's, 8-year-old pines, 10-year-old pines. He's like, I'm climbing up where I can see down in between each individual tree. And I'm like, are you kidding? Then he shows us video. And to be honest, we may need to text Jason to send us some video so we can actually plug into the video
We need to
podcast.
get him on. He would be entertaining to
very,
have on.
very entertaining. He's fun to have in camp. But he's like, I was 80 something foot in this tree. He's like, here's my 80 foot rope and it's not touching the ground. And it's like he's filming around him, and these 20 foot tall pine trees look like toothpicks underneath him. Okay,
like for real, I have never seen anything like that.
Yeah,
we've heard people talk about it. Like Travis Murray talked about using climbing spurs and getting that high in trees. But he was doing that. I think he said like 20 years ago or so. Like it was a long time ago that he was doing that because it was back when he was rifle hunting. But I haven't heard of anyone recently doing that, and I dang sure haven't seen a video where dude is like proving.
It's one thing someone talks about. It's another thing when someone actually shows you, like, here's 80 foot of line I just dropped out, and it's not. not touching the ground.
It's dangling 5 feet off the ground, and this crazy freaking dude rappels down to the end of it and just freaking falls off
on video.
And he's like hits the ground and he's laughing on video. I'm like, you're insane, dude. Anyways,
adrenaline junkie. But
he was real fun to have in
but
camp.
The crazy thing is, and this is where some of you guys right now on the podcast are gonna freak out a little because I did. He's like, I bow hunt from that high.
Oh, I know, that's crazy.
And I'm like,
what?
I'm like, what does that shot angle look like?
He showed us.
He showed
us a video of him shooting a deer from that high, and the deer is probably like 15 yards from the base of his tree or something. And he is aiming straight down at that sucker.
Yeah, straight. Yeah, it's
hit like, his leg when he shot his bow.
Yeah, Zach was like, dude, you're shooting like 40 yards straight downhill. And but not really. That'd be 120 feet. But
hey, he said he climbs that high sometimes.
But yeah,
I mean, he's getting in the. He was explaining to me, and like when we were walking through the woods, he was showing me like where he got in this tree, and like it didn't quite dawn on me because he was explaining it, and I was like, what is he talking about?
Oh, you're talking about the tree where he first climbed?
Yeah, where he first climbed.
How high was that?
Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna put a number. Like canopy. I mean, like up in
higher
the
than you've climbed.
Oh yeah, way higher than I've climbed.
Yeah, because you've climbed what, like 38 feet, probably 40.
Yeah, I think that the highest I've climbed is about 40 feet. Because I've climbed
one sticking.
My rope is 40 feet long, and then usually when you're up at hunting height, maybe it's like 12 inches. So you're using about 12 inches of that rope like around the tree where you've got it girth hitched. And then I've had it to where it's been hanging off the ground a decent bit, and I had to down climb a little bit. Mm-hmm. So probably about, like right there at 40 feet, give or take.
And he's like way past that.
Twice that.
Really?
Oh yeah. So what he was explaining what he likes to do. He's like, yeah, I like to climb up there, and I get up in the limbs, and I'll do my platform like this, and like lean on a limb or something. And I'm like, it didn't fully compute. I'm like, what? And I didn't get it until later in camp when he re-explained it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And you showed video?
Yeah, I'm like, you are literally getting in the middle of the freaking canopy. So like, look, everybody, look out your window right now and look at the nearest pine tree and look at the canopy, the top of the tree.
Well, look, no, not just a pine tree. You need to find like a 60 or 70-year-old longleaf pine, okay?
Yeah.
And look up there and get like 3/4 of the way up through the canopy, and that's where this dude's climbing to. Okay,
that's insane.
Yeah, but the cool thing is it works for him. Okay.
Oh yeah, it works good.
Like he was showing us, like he's killed 3 bucks in 3 weekends in January, tagged out on public land, 3 different pieces of public land, and again, he's from South Alabama, so he like bounces around from all these like Southern Alabama spots. And
well, so what he did that day is he got up in that tree, and he realized after he got up and he sat there for a minute that he was actually watching his back trail. So he turned around and he was watching where he cut through this marsh, and he's like, well, my wind, I just walked through there, I blew it out. I don't think it's going to be any good. So he rappels down, packs all his stuff up. It's like 3 o'clock at this point, and he has to go cross another little swamp. And these deer are crossing these swamps. And the kind of the cool thing about it is you can see the deer trails go under the water. Like the water might be like knee deep to us, but you can see the tracks going into the water, and you can literally see like a little trail because the water's pretty clear, even though it's like swampy. You can see down to the bottom, and there'll be tracks down there with like, a little bit of mud in them, where the mud's kind of like the dirt is disturbed. And he noticed that there was tracks in there that were like that. They were disturbed. And that mud was like, kind of floating around. And he's like, oh man, a deer like just came through here. So he slips across there, and this is where you get wet. Jumped an alligator, he says.
What?
Yeah, he jumped an alligator.
You never told me that.
Yeah, and so
Hell no. Dude, listen, that is a red line for me. I can deal with a water moccasin, jumping a gator, jumping a big old danger lizard. No thank
danger
you,
lizard.
Dude.
So he crosses. He gets completely soaking wet. He crosses, gets completely soaking wet. He's sitting on the other side, and he's like about to take his boots off and pour all the water out, and he looks up, and this deer's walking straight at him at 50 yards.
Yeah,
and then he freaking put a couple rounds in it with a 300 Win mag.
Hey, listen, it's called anchoring the deer. Okay, we talked about that on last week's episode. If he's still standing, you put another shot in him.
So
Okay.
yeah, he killed it, and he got back to his truck right as I just happened to pull up. And as I was talking to him, I'm like, dude, this guy.
Did he talk about the gator before or after y'all got the
But
deer?
before. So he was at the truck. He's like, dude, yeah, I jumped a gator in there. It was kind of sketchy. I was like, oh wow, okay.
How big was it?
I don't know.
So I'll be asking that question. Like, is it a 5-footer or is he double that?
So yeah, we walked in there and it
You're
was
looking
funny.
you're looking at every log.
Dude, I was like, he was as we go walking through here, and he's
Uh-huh.
explaining like what he went through to get to that spot. I'm like, this dude is like this guy is sick for it for sure.
Mhm.
To use that quote, like, dude, he's walking through a freaking alligator swamp. Going over his boots, like doesn't care what he has to do to get to his spot. I'm like, dang, this guy's making me feel kind of soft. I'm not gonna lie, like for
Stay
real.
hard. Stay hard.
Stay hard, dude. He made me feel pretty soft. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I throw his boots on, which were too big, so I was like a little kid walking around in his boots. I didn't tell him that.
Oh yeah,
man.
dude. He said he had like size like what, like 13.
Freaking
14?
30, dude. I put on the clown shoes, and I'm walking around.
Andrew's
and
over here. These size 9.5. He's
I'm
rocking.
size 10, baby. My freaking foot's sliding around in there. So we get to the little marsh and we cross it. Sure enough, it's a little bit over your knees crossing it. And these one thing about hunting South Alabama in January, that water felt kind of good. It's about 73 degrees.
Is that
That's
what-
why the gators were out.
Is that what Sawyer would say too?
We're not going to get into that. So we cross the thing and we go over to where the buck was. It's a great deer, dude. It was a really good deer. And I got some pictures of him with the deer, and we threw it in the jet sled and sledded that sucker out of there.
Oh, you had jet sled?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
way
Oh,
better.
thank God we had a jet sled.
Yeah.
It would have kind of sucked. But yeah, it was just a great experience, man. He was like super appreciative, that because I'd met him one time in like 2018, just ran into him, similar to how we ran into him here. But I went and helped him out with it. Kind of thinking back on old Johnny Boy when he helped me get that one deer out randomly. It's like he just showed up in the woods and helped me get a deer out. Never met him before. I was like, I need to pay it forward, do that for someone else.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went in there, and after that I just kind of drove around. I was soaking wet, so I just go back to camp, get some dry clothes on, meet up with Zach and everyone, and we start coming up with a game plan for the next day. And the next day we had a lot of rain rolling in throughout basically the first half of the day. It was supposed to be kind of nasty thunderstorms.
We're not going to talk about me getting shot at.
Oh, I forgot about you getting shot at. Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah. So.
All right. So meanwhile, while I'm helping the guy get his deer out,
I'm dodging bullets.
you walk to a different spot.
Yeah.
And
I needed
hunting. You're hunting near the property line.
Yeah, so I worked through an area, through some timber that it looked like an area where you would have deer kind of funneling around some water and just like a real thick swamp, and just nasty stuff right there. But as I was working back, I just kept getting a pig sign, and finally I got in some deer sign, and it wasn't even like rubs or scrapes. It was just fresh tracks and droppings like all over the place. And there were some water oaks that had been dropping that they were feeding on. And where they were coming around, like this water was right adjacent to the property line. Okay. So I went in there with my saddle kit and everything. And I was like, man, I was going to climb a tree, but I got in there. I'm like, man, this stuff, like in this one area, it's open, like where it comes out of the real thick stuff next to the water. I'm like, I'm just going to sit on the ground next to a big water oak, or like just a big oak tree, and just get tucked in there and just, where I can see underneath everything.
Yeah.
And see if I can, catch something moving. Well, I set up, and I'm probably 30, 40 yards off the property line. Not facing the property line. I'm facing down the edge of it where all this cover kind of comes around next to that fence row. And next to me is a little field, like a little like cattle pasture. And
Not a food plot, like actual cattle pasture.
yeah. And anyways, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear boom. And I'm like, what the heck was that? And I look across there, dude. And I see a dude on the side-by-side driving, and he's got like a freaking rifle out the freaking side of the side-by-side. I'm like, man, he must be shooting pigs or something. I don't know. Anyway, so he starts driving around, and next thing I know, I see him hit the tree line that I'm on. And he's like 300 yards down from me. And next thing I know, I hear, ka-doom! I'm like, that was close. And at this point, I'm getting behind the tree. I'm like, what the heck is he shooting at? Because I don't see anything out there running, dude. What are you shooting at? Okay. Well, then he keeps driving down the property line, and then he's like, and he must have had an AR. I couldn't tell what the rifle was. And he's like, ka-doom, ka-doom, shooting it in my general direction, okay? And it's like just I don't know what the heck he's hitting, but I'm like, what is this dude doing? And all of a sudden he gets down the property line and he gets like maybe 200. He's at maybe 200 yards from me now. And I can see he's looking right at me, okay? And I've got orange on and everything. I'm not on the dude's property line, not hunting his property line, nothing like that. And, dude, I see him, like, looking over there, and he pulls that gun up and just starts shooting down the property line.
Oh, my God.
And I can see there's nothing there, okay? And I'm like, oh, heck no, dude. So I freaking get my crap.
You freaking tuck and roll.
And I find a bigger tree to sit behind.
You go grab some cover.
Dude, I'm telling you, dude.
You didn't return fire?
If Zach was on this podcast and would have said what he said in camp.
Oh, that was so funny. We definitely can't say it.
No, we cannot say that. But, dude, I freaking grab my crap, dude, and I hit the next biggest tree next to me, dude, and sit down in front of it where
God.
I'm like, dude, I'm completely hidden behind this giant tree. He rolls down and stops right across from where I was sitting. Again, like probably 60 yards away because there's like more trees on his side before he gets to the property line or like after the property line. And he goes, boom, boom, right there. And I'm like, I don't know where, like he's shooting somewhere in that direction.
Are you still wearing your orange or are you laying on top of it at this point?
At one point, I'm not going to lie, I did take it off for a second. Because I'm like, dude, what is this dude doing, man? I'm like, listen,
Do you think he's seen you at this point?
Well, it looked like he was looking right at me and shooting down the property line.
God,
okay? So, like, I'm like,
Lord.
almost in the fetal position behind this is when Zach's like, I would have returned fire, okay? And I'm like, Zach, I ain't trying to go to jail, man. Okay, God. But like, God, dude, I was like almost in the fetal position behind this giant oak tree.
Why didn't you yell at him? Because you thought he was trying to.
I don't know, dude. I was.
You think he was trying to kill you?
I'm like, dude, I can't listen, bro, dude. It was. I'm like, my heart rate was through my freaking chest.
Oh, dude, you should go back on your Garmin and like see what your heart rate was when that happened.
Probably higher than anything else. Okay, and dude, I'm sitting there, and finally, the dude like drives down the corner.
Could you hear the bullets hitting trees?
At one, yeah, I heard it hit something, and I don't know if he was hitting trees. He was shooting at I don't know. He was shooting at all kinds of stuff.
Okay,
but he's shooting right there. Probably, literally 65, 70 yards from me. Okay, and then he rolls down to the corner. And then stops again. And he stays there for a minute. And at one time, I'm like, I'm about to just start shooting. Not back at him. I'm just about to start just shooting.
You're just going to crack one off in the air?
Just I'm like, dude, I got 8 shells in my pocket, okay? Not counting what I got in the gun, okay? And,
oh, my God.
Dude, he shoots like 3 or 4 more times. I mean, he's gone through 2 boxes of ammo almost at this point.
Oh, wow.
Like, he has shot like boom, 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 all the way down this property line. And,
do you think that maybe he was trying to like he probably knew that people were hunting and he's just going and shooting trying to mess up their hunts?
Probably. That's exactly what I thought.
Okay.
But I'm like, that's a little dangerous, my man.
Well, that's extremely dangerous.
That's
in flat land like that?
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you, anyway, so the second he drives around that corner of that field and he starts going away, dude, I get my crap and I start hightailing it, dude.
Get the hell
out. I was just trudging back to the truck.
He probably does that every single gun hunt on that WMAX.
Dude, and I'm like, I'd like get me a big tree. Like I'd walk past a big tree and I'd put that big tree between me and his property, like hit him in his field, and I just like stay in a straight line past it, dude. I'm like, oh my God. So that happens.
Oh my God.
Okay. I finally get back to the truck and I'm like pissed off at it. I mean, I'm already pissed off. I'm like freaked out too, the whole situation.
God, that's so funny.
Get all my stuff packed up. I'm like, man, I'm just gonna drive to this next little spot because it's like 4:00 at this point. Okay.
Yeah.
And I drive to the next little gate, or the next little pull off, whatever. So there's no truck there, so I park, whip in there, park, and I'm like, man, there's a little food plot at the back of it. I'm like, I'm gonna go look at what the food plot looks like, but I'm going to try to get on the back side of the food plot. It looked like there's some real thick stuff on the back side, and I'm like, there's probably, based off the wind and everything, kind of coming from that food plot, if a buck's going to come through there, he's probably going to work that thicker cover on the back side of that plot, 100, 200 yards, below it. And, dude, I go walking down there, jump 2 does, working their way towards the food plot, coming across the little road bed, going towards the food plot. They run off. I swing up, and I start sneak up to the food plot. And I'm like, I start sneaking around, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, there's orange. I pull binos up, and there's a dude sitting on the ground on the other side of the food plot, just texting on his phone. He's scrolling on TikTok or something. I look at him. I'm like, never even knew I was there. You know, the dude's probably 150 yards or 120, 150 yards from me. And I'm like, well, you ain't going to see any deer like that. And I saw that. I'm like, how did he? Like, someone must have dropped him off. I did notice boot tracks where I parked at, but there was no vehicle there. So someone must have just dropped him off and just said, hey, man, just go to that food plot. And also, the strategy of where he should have sat at the entrance of the food plot and watched the roadbed coming out of the food plot and then watched the food plot, because your wind would have been blowing through more open woods. Where he was sitting was right upwind of where all the thick cover was at.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to see anything there, I don't think. So I swing around. I'm like, well, he's still there. So I end up swinging around again, going downwind, you know, a couple hundred yards downwind, sitting down there, and found some big sign down there. Heard some turkeys fly at Peru, so dropped some pins, and you know, ended up not seeing any deer that night. But yeah, dude, it was a little. I got back to camp. I was telling everybody, they're like, you got shot at? I'm like, whether he was shooting at me or shooting at something, there was gunfire all around me, okay? I felt like I was back in like 1985 on a WMA in Alabama when there was 1,800, 2,000 people out there hunting. Like,
Yeah, for real.
So, yeah, it was freaking wild.
Well, that sounds fun. So we went back to camp, kind of strategized, woke up the next morning. It was raining all morning. It was just absolute downpour. And it was supposed to quit right there. Originally, it said about 1 o'clock, but, you know, these storm systems can be kind of finicky. So we were watching it really, really close all morning. And the worst of it was supposed to hit at like 11:30 to about noon. And it got to be about 11, and it looked like it was actually going to miss us by like half a mile. You know, you just got to watch the radar, and that's just the nature of these storms. Like, you got to watch them really close. And sure enough, it missed us. So we weren't really prepared to leave at that point. So we kind of got everything ready, hightailed it over to the area that we wanted to hunt. Again, same area that Jason killed that 8-point in that I helped him get out the day before.
Yep.
So we go busting through there. I think it was just me, you, and Mike that day, wasn't it? Yeah. So we go busting up in there, and it's in a big swamp, and this is like where we interview our swamp and river bottom people, where they talk about a ridge. And it was kind of funny because we had Miles and Austin with us. Miles and Austin are from northeast Alabama. They're used to hunting mountains, and so I was explaining to them this area. I'm like, look, there's a ridge back there. It ain't the ridge you're used to. It's 6 feet tall, for real. It's so, and it is. It's about 6 feet tall. It's about 6 feet taller than everything around it, and you can notice there's a timber change that occurs when you get up on that thing. So down in the bottom, it's more like swamp chestnut oats and some other oaks, and a few beech trees and other stuff like that. When you get up on that ridge, you get white oaks, red oaks, pine trees, like all kinds of like just diverse stuff, along with some other like non-mass bearing trees. But there's like a definite change. And all the woods are kind of open, and there's a lot of scrapes in these open woods. We immediately found a whole bunch of scrapes, which we could spend a really long time on this, but we'll kind of cover it quickly because we're going to end up talking about it more in the future for sure. But essentially, that ridge was just freaking covered with deer sign. On big signpost rubs, huge signpost rubs, big giant scrapes. So we go in there. We kind of all split up in different areas.
You had a camera in there too.
Yeah, so I had a couple good deer on camera. I thought I had the buck that Jason shot on camera, but I don't think I did.
Yeah,
I have one that looks a lot like it on camera. I had that deer. I had a little 10-point on camera in there. You know, not a crazy big deer, but like a really good young deer. You know, if he made it through this season, he's going to be a freaking nice deer next year. And then I had one like really like sure enough good deer that I only got a couple pictures of. And then the camera quit working, like at the best time of year too. Like right at the start of the rut, it died.
Typical.
Just my luck. But we ended up going in there, and we checked a whole bunch of stuff, covered a ton of miles, and basically we go walking that ridge, and we find these big signpost rubs, and we start finding cell cameras. And we find...
Hold on a second.
Well, you guys found the first ones. So
yeah.
So we split up, and we were kind of covering different sides of the ridge. So I was on one side, y'all were on the other side, and y'all ended up walking more down the middle of the ridge, and I ended up walking more down at the water line on the other side of it. And there was not a ton of stuff down there. Like there wasn't like a lot of deer sign. There was a lot of pig rooting and stuff. And so I was kind of underwhelmed with it. And this is interesting because this flatland, and I was talking to Jason about this flatland, you feel like even when it's kind of open, you feel like you can walk through it and really cover it scouting good.
Mm-hmm.
But like that big rub that I found with Jason when we went in to get his deer,
Mm-hmm.
he'd already walked through there twice and he didn't see it either time. The third time we walked through there, I spotted it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of the same situation in this area that we were hunting around that ridge. You found a bunch of stuff that I walked within about 100 yards of, and I just didn't see it. And so I walked through there, and I was feeling kind of underwhelmed by it. And meanwhile, you called me freaking out about how good it looked. And so that actually taught me a lot about scouting these areas. It's like you're not covering that as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're just walking on like a straight line.
Like you really almost got to zigzag.
Yeah,
And
you really have to like lawnmower it.
And it's not like you can walk transition lines and some of that stuff, and I think you can do okay. Because I did that the following day, which we'll talk about. But it's almost like you gotta like if there's any slight change topography wise, you need to go hit it.
Yeah.
But you almost need to go hit it with a couple guys where like one guy can work like a hard transition line. One guy works like the more subtle habitat features, terrain features.
Yeah.
The other guy kind of swings out a little bit wider than that.
Yeah.
And just kind of like almost like push through it. Like really, you just need to go out there with a squirrel dog, chasing a squirrel dog around, and like just bounce. Because with a squirrel dog, you're gonna be bouncing around anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna be all over the place.
And you'll be able to kind of cover some more ground.
That's actually a really good point. Well, y'all found some cell cameras that were watching, I guess, some of those signpost rubs and scrapes. And then when you go all the way to the end of this, there's some beaver dams and some stuff like that. And we got to those beaver dams, and there's cell cameras. Exactly where I would have put a cell camera. Like
smart placement. And
very good placement.
So when we came across the first cell camera, I told Mike, I was like, Mike, because I was wondering if it was on video mode. And I was right in front of it. I like gave him a thumbs up and everything. And I'm like, I wonder if this is a listener. Because I'm like, this is a pretty interesting spot placement. And then when we found the other ones, I'm like, I wonder if this is a listener to the podcast.
Yeah, it was it was a very good trail camera placement.
When we got to the second ones and I split off from you, you went one way, I went the other way. 10 minutes later, I get a notification on Facebook Messenger.
Well, because we were going around the back side of most of them.
Yeah.
But this one, you couldn't, I mean, you maybe could have went around the backside, but how you had to go through there, you kind of have to walk in front of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't like walking in front of cameras if I can help it, but if I do, I always give it a big old thumbs up.
Yeah.
And so that's what you did.
Yeah, I was like, make sure my pretty red face, beard and everything was in the photo. I was like, thumbs up. And then like 10 minutes later, I get a notification on Facebook that says, I see you. And it had both trail camera image on it. But my cell service was
so good.
My cell service was so bad, I couldn't see who it was, or like I could only see the photos when I got a notification, but when I opened it up, I had no cell signal. Like I couldn't look at it for like 2 days almost. And I'm like, well, it's a listener to the podcast, I'm pretty sure then. Unless it's like some random friend that doesn't listen to the podcast that sent me a message. But anyways, we split up. You went one way, you found
a lot of rubs.
A lot of rubs right there and everything.
Saw some does.
You saw some does. I went to a different little portion. Same situation, found a rub that it may have like some of the highest tine marks I've ever seen. I got my chest harness, bino harness on, which comes up to like right here for all the YouTube listeners, comes like right here in my sternum. And the tine marks on that tree were 2 or 3 inches higher.
Almost to your chin.
Yeah, 2 or 3 inches higher than the my bino harness, which is like, I've never seen that now. But like,
what? How tall are you? Like 5'10"?
I wish 5'9".
Man, just a little old fella.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you were right there with me, dude. You're just not as stubby.
I'm 5'10", son.
In your cowboy boots, I'm gonna call you Ron DeSantis.
Hey, I do have a nice pair of Dan Post boots. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, got an extra 3-inch heel in them.
Yeah, look, everyone started making fun of him. I'm like, shoot, can I not wear my freaking boots anymore? I love those boots.
Yeah. Anyways, but so ended up, I got set up back in there. It looked really good, transitions and everything, just great habitat. I ended up seeing 2 does as well, so we both saw a couple does, and we kind of bounced out and got back to the truck the whole 9 yards. And I was like, man, I told you, like when I got set up, I'm like, I want to come back in here tomorrow. Like based off what I found, like there's got to be a good deer in here based off what you found. And like also like Mike kind of sat up there closer to like where the signpost rubs were, and he saw a little buck come in, which was a legal deer. Ended up, he didn't know it really was a buck, I don't think, until it got real close to him.
Yeah.
And then he tried to get a shot and just
I think it was a half rack.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's why he thought it was a doe at first, but then he ended up seeing the other antler, and it was a legal deer. It had it met the antler port restriction for this place, and yeah, he was about to shoot it, and it winded him.
Yeah,
which I hate because I was hoping Mike would get him another deer, man.
Yeah, it happens. But anyway, so we kind of go back to camp, talk to all the guys, kind of come up with a game plan next morning, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be at that spot before anybody else on this property ever decides to get there.
Well, because another thing, when you talked to Clint, Clint had gone in there, so he beat you in there that first day.
Hmm.
And well, talk about why Clint went in there. That's
I don't know if we want to dispose that.
okay. Well, okay,
Yeah, we won't dispose that. But he got intel
yeah,
for a reason why he went in there from an old timer.
yeah.
But ended up just, because of all that, I was like, dude, I want to go in. And I went to see Clint, went to his, went to see him at camp. And he said that they ended up hunting like a different area. He said they saw a couple does in there as well, but they ended up going to a different area and they probably weren't going to go hunt that last morning. So I'm like, well, we're going to plan on getting there. And I'm going to get there early. So I had my alarm set for 3, sleeping in the truck. This is one advantage I love, like camping, sleeping in the truck. Because if I sleep in the tent, if I wake up, kind of get dressed, put boots on, everything, it burns a little bit of time. If I'm in my truck, I'm sleeping in my clothes. I take my boots off, but I sleep in my clothes.
Yeah.
And all it is, I just leave my seat up, crank it, and I'm rolling. Okay.
Yep. That is an advantage.
So you and all the other sleeping beauties slept at camp a little bit longer. I saw nobody else's light come on at 3 a.m. So
I heard you crank your truck, and I looked at my watch. I was like, "Oh, Jacob's got it. I'm gonna get about half an hour more." And then I had to get out, and I had to pack the tarp and everything.
Yeah.
Cooler.
But so anyways, I roll out. I get to the spot. I park, and I'm like, well, I'm here super early because I was telling you guys like I want to walk in early, but like it's not like critical. We don't need to be walking at 3:30. Okay.
No.
So
Main thing is just get the spot.
yeah.
So no one else is walking.
Yeah, so I parked there and lay my seat back. I'm like, man, I'm gonna go back to sleep. This feels pretty good, and I go back to sleep, and then all of a sudden, I have my alarm set for 4 a.m. And I get there, I don't know, it's maybe I forgot what time I got there at. It wasn't terribly
Probably like 3:15.
yeah, something like that.
Super early.
And anyways, I go back to sleep, and when I wake up hearing trucks driving, and I'm like, they better not be pulling up next to me. I look up, and it's a parade of trucks flying by me, and they're going back to some other spots. And I was like, oh man, okay, good. And and the thing is, I left my truck running, so my lights were on. So just so like people were like, it's not one of those things that
they didn't want the confrontation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it wasn't like one of those things where you don't really notice the truck's there until you pull up behind you, like, oh crap. I want to make sure people like saw me, when they were coming by on the road. And anyways, finally I wake up and I hear somebody pull up behind me, and I saw the lights. I'm like, please let that be Andrew and the guys. And it was you, Mike, and Miles and Austin. And anyway, dude, we just kind of got all of our stuff loaded up and kind of had a game plan going in there. And
yeah, I was kind of tempted
interesting.
that morning. We had some more ground we wanted to cover in there. And that was the last morning of our hunt, and we were trying to decide where to put everyone. We were wolf packing the area, and my view going into it was like, this is great. We had 5 of us going in there. So we got 5 man days essentially. So I think all in all we had 8 man days total in that area. And so again, every person that is there counts for a man day. So on day 1, 3 of us went in there. That's 3 man days. Day 2, 5 of us went in there. That's 5 man.
Which
days.
is like different observations on different areas.
Yeah.
There's the advantage of like hunting with a group of people because like you may be 300 yards away from your buddy. He may be on crazy hot sun seeing a ton of deer, and you ain't seeing nothing.
Exactly.
And you can kind of pinpoint like what areas may be a little bit harder than others.
So when you're sharing information, you just spent 2 days in there, and you got 9 days worth of information. 8 days worth of information. I'm sorry. So that is like that's how I was looking at this, because I'm already thinking it was at this point I think becoming apparent that we were probably on the backside of the good rut hunting, and like we could for sure kill a buck. Like we were by no means out of the game, but I'm already looking at this like this area is good. The sign in here is extremely impressive. Seems like there's not really any hunting pressure, which we ended up confirming later. And so I'm already thinking about next season. Like I'm always thinking about, again, it's like a savings account that you're putting money into, and next year we making the withdrawal. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to get as much information as possible. So I thought about going like way back in and basically doing what you ended up doing, but I'd already been in there one time and scouted this by myself. And there's this one spot that I was like, you know what? For the last day, I want to get a good hunt in, and I want to hunt something that I'm familiar with, that I've already walked, instead of trying to go in blind somewhere. So I ended up hunting this one spot. that looked really promising, kind of towards the end of the ridge,
Mhm.
and I was set up for hunting pressure. Didn't end up seeing anything, but Miles ended up seeing a couple deer.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody else saw anything, right?
I saw two.
You saw some does. Mike and Austin didn't see any.
Mhm.
So out of the five of us, only two saw any deer,
Yeah.
and no one saw like a
Hey,
good buck or
hey, real
anything.
quick. So one thing we didn't mention back at camp the night before, we could have like a ton of meat,
Hmm.
and you were eating some raw burgers. Okay. So talk to us about the advantage of one sticking and repelling out if the old bubble gut hits.
Listen, all right. Look. We cooked some burgers.
Andrew
and-
can't cook for nothing.
No, I
he
can
eats it raw.
No, listen.
I'm
I can
not
I
talking
can cook.
I'm not talking about medium rare. I'm talking about blue rare, like raw burger.
No, it was warm. It was warm on the inside. Look, I cooked some burgers. It was dark. No one brought a freaking lantern. Okay, so
That is true.
I go eating this burger, and then you flip a light on, and you're like, dude, the thing's raw as hell.
a good veterinarian could bring that back to life.
It wasn't that freaking raw. Okay, it was a little bit.
If it had
It was
parasites,
a little bit more rare than I like my burger meat.
if it had parasites, they were still alive and kicking inside that burger.
Listen. So I eat it, and also I was freaking hungry. I was like, whatever, we're gonna risk it. And so I ate about half of one of them. Then we threw them back on the grill and finished them off. But yeah, that next morning I wasn't feeling that great. All right, it got to be about 10 a.m. I was like, I got to get out this tree, boy.
Oh, it was that late?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, dude, I made it. It's all good.
Okay.
So yeah, repel. I fast repped out of that sucker. You could.
Then you can hear that rope burning from 300 yards away.
Oh, dude. Well, hey, that's another funny thing that Jason was talking about. Repelling out. So he's repelling from like so far out, and he had this story where he was repelling down in front of a dude, and he was trying to, I guess, like show off. And so there's two ways you can repel it, or really there's three. You can either just freaking hang there and like lower yourself with your belay device, and literally just hang there and lower down, or you can kind of backwards walk down the tree. So put your feet on the tree and walk backwards down and slowly repel. Or you can do the freaking special forces kick off and, you
Zip off 40
zip
feet of line
off.
at a time.
Yeah, so he did that. So I was like, I'm going to freaking try that.
Yeah, and I think he said he did 2 kicks from 80 plus feet up. It hit the ground pretty hard.
Yeah, because I'm still like getting comfortable with it. Like, it's a lot of fun repelling. It's very fun. So yeah, that morning I was like, I'm gonna try to do the kickoff thing and see what I do. And dude, I freaking kicked off and I zipped down so fast I burned my hand on the rope. I hit the ground so hard.
People were like, "There's a buck fight over there. I heard crashing." Andrew's over there half paralyzed on the ground.
Like, I just sprained my ankle. Oh yeah. So anyways, yeah, that was fun. The raw burgers. Anyways, moving on.
had a close to having a blowout up there.
I was a little worried about that, so I brought some extra mountain money with me. That's toilet paper.
Dude, I don't know why you don't. You've gone into the woods a couple times this year without having toilet paper.
No, I always have it, dude.
I think there was a time.
No, listen. Well, I ran out, but the advantage of having a 9-month-old is there's always baby wipes in the car.
That doesn't help you if you're in the woods.
They throw them in the backpack.
Oh,
What are you
okay.
talking about?
Okay.
Throw the whole thing in there. It's freaking. It's like royalty, dude.
Yeah.
Having those compared to normal toilet paper, it's like, dang, we're rolling high. Anyways, so yeah, I don't see anything that morning. I make a decision that I'm just gonna do like a big loop, and I'm gonna walk into an area that, like, really, truth be told, I'm not actually interested in hunting, but other people, I know for a fact, other people are hunting there. So I wanted to see what it looked like. I could see some pines and stuff on the map and some swampy looking stuff. So I wanted to walk in there and just see if those pines actually had good cover underneath them. Because if it looked really good, maybe get on the back side of it or something. But I did a big old loop over there and just nothing. I mean, very little deer sign. I walked 3.5 miles on that loop and I found one scrape. No, I'm sorry. I found 3 scrapes. One of them was actually open from that morning. The other 2 weren't. But none of the scrapes were very big compared to what we had been finding. I mean, we were finding absolute just monster sign. Big giant rubs, big giant scrapes. Just really impressive sign further back in this area. So I get out, and Austin and Miles and Mike, they all kind of do the same thing. Everyone kind of leaves, and we leave you back there. And
Typical. Leave Jacob to
yeah,
fend
pretty
for
much.
himself.
Pretty much.
Well, if I kill one,
Good luck, buddy.
call a helicopter.
So without drawing it out too much, because we're already at 54
Yeah,
minutes.
and pretty much. I just ended up after that morning sit. I got down like 11 o'clock because I just wasn't feeling it after seeing those 2 does. I'm like, I don't know how good it looks. So kind of like I pulled an Andrew Maxwell. I'm like, I ain't gonna sit here and just hope and wait. I'm just gonna go scout. If I kick a deer up while I'm scouting, maybe I get a shot. But let's go learn something to kind of add. So we. What do you call it? Add to your account or for your
But
withdrawal?
yeah,
What,
yeah,
what's
add
what
to
you're
the
saying?
savings account, man.
Okay. Anyway, to make a withdrawal later, which is just scouting out the area even more so and trying to find like better areas that maybe would set up better for different hunts maybe in the future or next year or whatever.
Yeah.
So ended up from the time I left the truck to the time I got back to the truck, it was just over 7 miles that I did. And did this crazy big loop, covering a bunch of ground, covering a bunch of different terrain habitat types, and found a lot of sign, but like found a lot of pig sign too. Didn't find any alligator sign, which is good. I try to stay out of some of those areas, which is probably where the bucks are at, especially after talking to the listener, old Jeff. So ended up doing this big, just crazy loop going through all this area, and it was weird how like the second you would get into pig sign, zero deer sign,
Yeah.
zero tracks, scrapes, rubs, nothing. And then you get out of that, and after you got out of it for a few hundred yards, you get back into deer sign, which kind of goes back. I did an episode with David Ellis on his podcast, the Yacht Show, which y'all can go check out right now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. And we were talking about this because I didn't know this, but me and him did an episode about a study that Mississippi State just did, or they were trying to do, until some stuff happened. But they were trying to see how pigs, hogs, wild hogs, feral pigs react with deer and how deer, cohabitate areas and like,
Yeah.
How much they mingle or not. And David's like, from being a pig trapper, he's like, you don't ever see deer and pigs in the same trail camera. You don't ever see them on the same food plot. The corn pile. If pigs are there, deer aren't there. If pigs are gone for a little while, then their deer will show up. And that's kind of how it seems sign-wise. But I just did a big loop going through there, and then kind of worked my way back. Found some really good stuff. Found some really thick cover. Ended up jumping what I assume was a lone deer in some of that real thick cover that I assumed was some of the best bedding habitat in that area. And all the sign kind of corresponded with that, where like when the habitat kind of pinched down towards this real thick cover, you'd find like just a ton of scrapes, ton of big rubs, and then you kind of work around to the other side. It was exactly the same. And I was on the phone with you, talking to you, and actually, I was on the phone with you when it was kind of like whispering to you. That's when I jumped the deer up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was like, hey, let me put my phone with you on it in my bino harness and grunt and snort wheeze, see if this deer would spin back around and give me a shot. And
Thought
I was
you were about to shoot, man.
yeah. Oh man, that would be cool. But I ended up kind of slipping out of there before dark. I left at like 4 o'clock to try to get back out. Just because, dude, I was smoked after. I think I did like close to 18 miles in like a couple days, 3 days out there, and I had a terrible. I was wearing rubber boots, and the problem with rubber boots I found with any rubber boot I've ever worn is for one day hunt it's fine, but if you can't dry those boots out every single day, and I didn't have a boot dryer with us on this trip, and you're sweating and you're like building condensation, I always have issues. No matter the socks I wear, rubbing not the back of my heel but the side of my ankle. On like especially the outside of my ankles in those boots where it'll just rub them raw, and it's super uncomfortable. And it was, dude, I was hurting by the time I got back to the truck. Actually, before I got back to the truck, ended up getting back to the truck. The whole 9 yards, packed up my stuff from camp, and then left. And the next day later that day, I was kind of messaging Jeff about the air because he got me on camera a couple different times back in there. And he's like, "You guys gone?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, sent me a photo. He's like, you should have stayed a little bit longer. And I'm like, what? And I looked at the photo, and it was a really, really nice 8-point, like a big deer that came by one of the cameras where some of those big rubs were at. And I had walked just below that spot an hour and a half before that deer came through there.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, I almost wish you never even sent me this, dude. So, but
he did tell you that we were the only people he got on camera. Right
other than like one of his buddies, he said.
Yeah. So that made me feel pretty good about it. It's just it's one of those things where the spot where we all parked is like, it's what you called it, like a quote unquote community hole. It's like just on the side of a dirt road where you can pull over, and there's a little bit of area where you can pull your
Mm-hmm.
truck over. And we had like freaking 4 trucks there that
Mm-hmm.
morning. And you know, this particular dirt road gets a lot of traffic, and so a lot of people saw our trucks there. So I don't know. Like I don't know if I know that people park in that spot and people are hunting back there. In fact, there's actually a pretty worn out trail walking back into this area,
Mm-hmm.
where you can tell people are leaving this parking spot. And I mean, there's a person trail. It's not a deer trail. It's a
Mm-hmm.
person trail going back in there, and then it kind of fans out, you know, where people are going and hunting different areas. But the difference is, you know, uh, just putting uncomfortable stuff between you and that parking spot. So
Mm-hmm.
whether that's crossing water, or if you're in hill country, that's maybe not just going up a hill, but going up and over a hill and back up the next hill. You know, just something slightly more miserable than most people are wanting to deal with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and actually, a Q&A I want to cover with you on this episode is actually messaged to us,
Oh, yeah, okay.
and it has
Let's
to do
hit
with
it.
it. Well, we're gonna answer because I've already given him my answer, but I want to get your take on it.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, but yeah, overall, it was a good experience. I mean, we learned a lot, learned about some different areas. I think we can have success in going further, but. Dude, it's still this dude. 3 river bottom hunts got my butt kicked.
Well, yeah, but this last one, I feel like towards the end of it, I just like for me talking to you, it seems like you've kind of got some of your confidence back with the
Hmm.
sign that you were finding. But then also talking to Jeff,
Hmm.
he seemed to confirm a lot of the things that we were already thinking. Like y'all have been sharing a lot of
Yeah, yeah,
information back and forth, and I would love to be able to go in there with Jeff sometime. Like we're hunting the same area. But this is the kind of thing I really like doing. Is you know, if you run into somebody and y'all are hunting the same area and it's apparent y'all are kind of doing the same thing, it's always good to, you know, just work with that person as much as they're willing to do. It's like, you know, maybe they don't want to go in there and freaking hunt with you, but, you know, a little bit of information sharing within reason is always a good thing, you
yeah,
know, and it can help both of you out, you know, maybe when you get a nice deer. So I'm really appreciative that he's been talking to you and sharing some information that hopefully we can put to use next year, because I think
yeah,
we definitely want to hunt this spot next
yeah.
year.
And when I sent the I just sent him the screenshot of like where I walked, and he's like, "Holy crap, you covered a lot of ground." I'm like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." I'm telling you,
We ain't
freaking
playing.
walking the soles of those boots off, man.
Yeah, dude.
And
Getting after it.
yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, dude, let's get over to some Q&As real quick.
All right. So we're gonna do Jacobs first.
Yeah, so kind of getting some Q&As here. This is from Cody Brock, and he actually messages on Instagram, which we typically don't cover these Q&As initially off Instagram, but it's a really good one. So I wanted to kind of read it off for you guys and kind of give you our takes on it. So Cody wrote in saying, "Gentlemen, I love the podcast. Been listening for a while. I'm hoping you can help me out. I've seen some of your scouting videos where you're hunting or where you're scouting mountain deer. I just had my first scouting trip in the mountains and was honestly overwhelmed by the amount of buck sign I found in thermal hubs. Even these, even though these hubs are 1.5 to 2 miles deep, they have hiking trails running through them, so they're easily accessible. I'm assuming this sign was left at night. I realized pretty quickly I didn't know what to do with this information. My question is, where do I go from here scouting this area now that I know there's bucks using this hub at night? How do I scout the surrounding ridges to catch the buck or these bucks during daylight?"
That's a really good question. Uh, what I like to do in a situation like that, in some of our mountain areas, like where we killed those bucks last year, in that situation, I like going up on the ridge points above that thermal hub. So whatever ridge points are kind of dropping down into it, I like to run up the spine of that and see where it goes and start looking for compounding features. Uh, and also I like to, like I was saying a minute ago, I like to put some kind of feature between me. Like, let's say that hiking trail is your access.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how long that hiking trail is, that might not be like a bad way to access, because not a lot of people might be walking that far in. But let's just say that like that, there's a lot of pressure off that hiking trail. I like to dive off the hiking trail and like go up and over like a ridge,
Mm-hmm.
like the hiking trail is going up the side of a ridge. Instead of just following it up, I'll jump off the trail 90 degrees off of it, go up the ridge and get on top of the ridge above that hiking trail and see what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's really good. But sometimes if you just have to get away from people, you can go up and over, down the other side, and then up onto the next one And that might be really good too, because like a lot of people are willing to walk up a hill. Not many people are willing to walk up a hill, down the other side, and back up another hill.
Hmm.
So that's like the barrier, or just like super steep terrain. But that's what I would do. I'd start walking out all those ridge points and follow that to where you hit a compounding feature, whether that be where that ridge point goes up into a saddle, where it hits a bench on the main ridge, like whatever the case may be, and start looking at that. Like the thermal hub is a good place to start. That tells you that there's deer in the area. Now you got to figure out where they're coming from, like where are all the focal points, because I don't think the thermal hub is necessarily like at least a daytime focal point. Like they might be coming through there at night, but where are they spending time during the day? And it could be kind of far away. It could be really close to it. So like, don't make any assumptions. I don't really know what the area is like as far as habitat goes, but they could be coming from like right there above it, or they could be coming from like two ridges over. It just depends on your area. So you got to kind of take that in stride.
Yeah, so a guest who's actually talked about this and actually had success killing deer close to these hiking trails is Adam Jolly. And him and his brother Heath were on a podcast we did, which was it's a two-part episode, part one, part two. The part two episode where I believe we talk a little bit more about this specific topic of like hiking trails and whether or not, deer, associate them with pressure in certain areas and whether or not, they're actually like a area you can actually hunt around.
Yep.
Some states it's like there's certain legal distance you may have to be off a hiking trail in order to kill a deer. But Adam killed a really nice buck off, coming working through an area off a hiking trail. And the episode I think we covered that on is episode 380, which came out in June of 2022. And that was the part two. The part one of that is 378, which was the Monday's episode before that. So 380 and 378, and that was something kind of interesting. Kind of hearing him talk about that because I told Cody the same thing. I'm like, dude, there's a chance that there's probably a pretty good chance there's a lot of nighttime sign, but also it might not be a bad place to throw a camera out if it's pretty easy to go check. Hang your camera up 10 foot high, take two sticks in there, hang it up 10 foot high. And, on a big community scrape, if you find a big scrape down in that area and just see and monitor access and monitor what the deer are doing.
Yeah.
But also, like you were saying, they're probably coming both up and down in elevation, but also they may be side hilling. So depending on where that trail is coming through that hub, if that trail continues to side hill, if you go down in elevation, you may find some better sign. If you go up in elevation, you might find better sign and backtrack that sign.
Yeah.
But also, if you go up and over, and like you said, compounding features, if there's a saddle above that hub on the top of that ridge that drops into that hub, that might be just a killer spot. Where before you get to that hub, especially on a morning sit, maybe half a mile away, quarter mile away, you start cutting up the ridge and then work down to that saddle and sit that saddle in the morning, you might do really good. But also, I was telling them, if you go up and over the ridge, there's probably another thermal hub on the back side of that ridge.
Yeah.
That they're crossing back and forth to, and you may be able to catch them somewhere over the top of that ridge crossing. And then also side hilling as well, because again, we've had a lot of guests on the podcast talking about bucks going up and down in elevation, travel, and then also parallel travel to the ridges. At a certain elevation line. Like a future guest we're going to have on the podcast, Daniel, he talks about this as well, that, in a lot of areas he's hunted, he sees bucks doing a lot of, like working a certain elevation line around areas. So they may be dropping to that thermal hub, coming up the other side, and then working a certain elevation going around, which may be above or below that hiking trail. So, don't let that kind of scare you away, but also it depends. Is that hub wide open? Or is it like got a lot of thick mountain laurel, rhododendron down in there, some kind of thick cover, shrubby cover, high stem count, saplings? But definitely, if you look over the top of that ridge, you may find some better stuff as well, and also maybe some better daylight movement.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next up, we got Adam Bice from Alabama. He said, not really a question, but I just wanted to leave y'all a comment expressing how much I love hearing all of Andrew's escapades into the worlds of hunting clubs. I've been listening to y'all since the beginning and have been using a lot of these strategies discussed on the show about working around people on clubs for a while. Y'all put out some really good stuff this year, particularly on the hunting club topic, working around people, in a lot of cases, even more highly pressured deer than most public lands in Alabama. Get after him, guys. Appreciate that, Adam. I know Adam. He's a super cool dude. He bucked out this year. He killed a couple really, really nice ones. And they've got a YouTube channel. I believe it's called Team Southern Roots, where you can actually go watch. Like, he wrote in a listener success story, I think it was a Big 10 point, that he just put on his YouTube channel. So y'all can go check that out. But I've enjoyed the hunting club stuff, man. We've been getting a lot of good feedback on it. And, we actually surveyed our audience probably 2 years ago. And what was it? It was, I can't remember what the percentage was.
Over 76% hunted both public and private.
Yeah.
But more people hunted private than public.
Yeah.
I think I forgot what the percentage was that hunted just private over public, but it was almost double the amount of people hunted private versus public, which makes sense because there's a lot more hunting clubs in private land that someone can get into than just public land opportunities. If someone didn't want to do that.
We got a large part of the audience, and that's the culture down here.
That's the culture. Yeah, I was gonna say
You're
culture
in a
down
hunting
south.
club. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people who hunt WMAs, and Adam's right. A lot of these hunting clubs are just as pressured, if not more pressured, than WMAs. I'll say that a lot of that has to do with the kind of hunters that you have in your hunting club.
Well, so a future guest we're gonna actually be interviewing on Thursday. He was talking about, again, Daniel. He was talking about one of his old hunting clubs he was in. He killed some real nice bucks out there. Again, some of the bigger bucks that came off the property. I think he said it was maybe 2,000 acres and it had like 57 members in it. And he's like, and it's going to be interesting when y'all hear his story. But when he just recently got a hunting public land a couple of years ago, and he killed two really nice bucks in public land. One was a double drop time buck, and another was like a big 11 point. And that was in Alabama. And he said he heard all these people talk about how pressured public is, and he's hunting a pretty pressured piece of public land in Alabama.
Yeah.
And when he transitioned to public from private from the hunting club, he's like, oh, this is not nearly as bad. He's like, if you go to he's like, back on our club, you go down, he's like, there was like a 2-mile stretch road that kind of went through and like wide out on the property. And he's like, every single spot you could park a truck at on a Saturday during gun season, he's like, there was a truck there or 2 trucks. And he's like, every little road that came off that, there was food plots, and he's like, it'd be every couple hundred yards, it'd be something like that, and there'd be trucks. He's like, you go down like a straightaway of a road and you see 30 trucks on that hunting club.
Yeah.
And he's like, on public, it's like that, but they're so spaced out. He's like, there might be a gate. He's like, we drive from one gate. He was telling me this when I was up at his house a week ago. You go from one gate, and you're like, yeah, there'd be 2 or 3 trucks there. And he drives to another gate, there'd be 2 or 3 trucks there. But between those 2 gates is like 4 miles or 3 miles.
And there's nobody.
And he's like, well, really? He's like, as long as you're not parking at a gate, he's like, it's not hard to get away. And he's like, and since then, he's like, dude, it's been awesome. He was like, man, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes like my club, it gets like, quote unquote, a lot of pressure, but I don't really consider it a lot of pressure. I think I was telling Sam this the other day that, sure, there's like a couple guys out there pretty much every weekend, especially in January. There might be like 6 or 7 guys out there. It's 1,800 acres. And they're all hunting food plots, though. I mean, they religiously hunt. That's all they hunt is food plots. There's a couple guys that might hunt like a ladder stand off in the woods, but I do not have to worry about people going to my spots out there. Like people just aren't getting off the beaten path at all. Whereas, especially like this weekend is a good example. The difference is on WMAs, you have to worry about that more often. Like people are doing the thing where they're like walking to that saddle back on the backside of these thick pines or something. Where on my hunting club, nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
But on the public now, some hunting clubs are different though, and people are doing that kind of thing, and those are probably more challenging. Where you have like that like hunters who have that kind of mindset. Because if you're like me and you get into like the kind of hunting club that I got into, and I'm the only one really who's got this kind of mindset. I mean, Cody does too. Cody's in the club, but Cody's got a lot of places to hunt, so he's not out there a ton. I got kind of free reign of the place a little bit. Whereas, I've been thinking about going back and forth on joining this different club, but I was talking to Cody about it. He's like, yeah, the hunters in that club, hunt more similar to like what we do.
A little higher tier.
Yeah, like they're gonna get off their.
When I say higher tier, I mean like just like their mindset, skill set level. Like they're not just hunting a food plot. They're not just hunting a power line. Like they're
going and finding sign. They're hunting terrain features. They're being mobile.
Like
so it's
similar to a lot of people that listen to this podcast.
yeah, exactly. The kind of person that
Like,
listens to this podcast.
Personally, I'll be honest, if I was in a hunting club and it was a bunch of you guys listening or watching this podcast in the club, I'd be a little worried, okay?
Yeah, no, for real.
I want to be in a hunting club where nobody knows about the Southern outdoors.
Oh yeah, we did. When we went to the work day, I was with Mike and Sam, and I was like, do not mention a podcast. Don't mention the podcast. Don't mention the YouTube. Don't mention anything.
Did you wear Southern outdoorsman hat on?
Absolutely not. I told them to not wear their hats either. I was like, no, we're going dark. Okay, we're not. And there was another guy there who's in the club who's got a YouTube channel, like a small YouTube channel, and he was telling everybody about it. I was like, oh man, that's cool. Like I wasn't gonna say anything about it, dude. Because, especially we talk on here about the club like really openly. And on our Patreon, we've even put map examples of the club and been extremely specific, which is another reason that I joined the club is we can't really do that on public land like at all. But on the club, like I can get on the map and I can show you exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And not worry about it, unless a Patreon member joins the club. Which if you do, then, we'll team up, bro.
We'll tag team it,
Yeah,
baby.
we'll tag team it. But anyways, yeah, so that's why I'm a little hesitant to jump out of the club. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but yeah, it depends on the kind of hunters in the club, and that's maybe something to go. We're getting into that time of year where people are going to be looking for new hunting clubs or trying to join a club for the first time.
You start asking the
from
president.
February to like July
Yeah.
is when you're getting in hunting clubs.
And one of the first questions you ask them, hey, do y'all know about the Southern Outdoors podcast?
Well, I mean, like you went with me when I went and toured the club with
Yeah.
the club president. You rode with me, and he was like, "Who's this guy?" I'm like, "Don't worry about him."
Yeah.
And
I'm going to be the guest that comes out here and kills all your big bucks, which has not happened. Because Andrew hasn't invited me back. I went one time during bow season, open day of bow season.
What are you talking about? I've invited you back.
Haven't been back. Man.
Oh my gosh!
Sad.
I was trying to get you to go in bow season when Mike missed that 10 point, and
okay,
and you refused to bring your bow.
I've gone and filmed you. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So, anyways, that was one of the first things I asked him. I'm like, what do most guys like to do out here? Like, is everyone hunting a food plot? Like, what's it like? And I got that information from him, which made me a lot more confident hunting the club.
Yeah, hot tip, guys. If you're doing a tour with like a president of a club or whatever, if you're like a hardcore listener to this podcast, play dumb. Okay?
100%.
Play dumb. Don't get too excited when you're driving over the property and you start seeing some awesome habitat terrain features, whatever. Just play dumb. Like, oh yeah, man, I love hunting food plots. So, y'all plant good food plots out here. Just
What do y'all like to plant?
stick to that regiment.
Y'all got any corn feeders?
Yeah, like just stick to that when you're doing the tour. Don't give them any
I
idea.
100% agree with
Yeah,
this,
don't
by
give
the
them
way.
any idea that you may be a little more serious and get after. If you have a lot of free time to hunt, don't say that. Like, yeah, hunt weekends mostly, just stuff like that. May come out here a little bit during season, nothing too crazy. I mean, just play dumb.
Yeah,
Play
I mean that's like my philosophy. Like, I'm not gonna lie to the dude. If he starts drilling down and asking me a bunch of questions, I'm not gonna lie about anything. But I'm not just gonna give him like a bunch of information. I'm not gonna volunteer information. You know, and so yeah, that's what we did with our club. Like, there was a lot of things that really excited me, but I was like, I didn't say anything. Because I don't know who I'm riding in the car with or whatever. Like, I don't know, like what he likes to do as far as his hunting. I don't know what he's going to go tell the other members of the club. So until you start getting to know people and building relationships in the club, it's better to just be more discreet, because that's how you get into club drama. Is if like you go in there and you start running your mouth and you say some things that you shouldn't say. Like, perfect example is like you get a big old 12 point on camera and you just cannot wait, and you go tell everyone, or you go tell one guy at the check station or the pinout board,
And everybody then knows about it.
and now everybody knows about it, and then one guy in the club goes in there where you said you got it on camera and kills it, and now you got club drama.
Yeah, never talk about it. Take the turkey hunter's mindset. If you know any old school turkey hunters, they don't say anything.
They don't say nothing.
They don't say nothing. Lips shut. They hear birds, shoot a bird. Nope, nothing. And they got a dead bird in the back of their truck.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
that's, that's probably a little more dirty than what Andrew's saying. Because Andrew's saying he ain't going to lie to him. But
No, I ain't gonna lie to him.
you killed him down there in my food plot? Maybe. Is that where my pen was at?
Okay, yeah, I might have fudged that a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't kill him on the food plot.
Sugar-coated lie.
I did tell him that I did not kill it on the food plot.
That's true.
I pinned out. He's like, you should. I was like, hey man, I didn't kill it, because he was kind of upset with me. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't kill it on your food
Oh,
plot.
we talked about it. Uh-huh.
But he asked me where I did kill it, and he named where I did kill it. He's like, did you kill it over here? I'm not gonna say exactly what. I was like, No, I was kind of close to there though, So, anyways,
Andrew's
just trying to be discreet.
Andrew has a bad poker face, real bad poker face. So
No, they don't suspect a thing.
Andrew was probably screaming when that guy was asking him questions. He's like, I don't know.
All right, we got a fun one here. This is from Matt Bedwell from Indiana. He
Oh.
said, "How are you guys drinking your morning coffee from the saddle? Where do you put the cup? This is a crucial part of my hunt, and I need to know before making the switch from my hang on. I got you.
I got you too.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Listen, get you a gear hanger.
No,
Okay.
What?
Get a gear hanger.
No. Okay, I got a different.
Get a gear hanger, and look. This I use either a Kafaru Hellbender. If I'm like going way back and it's kind of a big hunt,
It's a
or
backpack,
I
it's
use
not-
a tethered fast pack.
Mhm.
If hunting like the club or something, I'm not going like 2 miles deep where I'm going to pack one out. And I've got a gear hanger, and I hang that backpack off the side of the tree. So like when I'm leaning in my saddle, the top of the backpack is like maybe about at my waist, like it's kind of out of the way on the side of the tree. And that pack, the top of it folds open, and you can like reach down in the pack real easy. And I get like some kind of cup that seals, obviously, and I just put my coffee in that. If it's like a really cold morning, and I'm gonna drink a bunch of coffee. I'll bring my whole freaking. I got an old school Stanley
Stanley?
thermos. Yeah,
Like
not the big old white girl cup. I got the
Really?
yeah, I got the big thermos. Yeah.
You get the.
What?
I don't know.
Shh, stop,
Here's Stanley. I'm just like, man, you just.
dude.
You-
This
you do
Stanley's
get
from
stuff.
like 1985.
Okay.
It's the OG.
Is it the same company?
Yeah,
Man,
same company. Yeah, dude, it's an interesting.
They lost
It's actually an interesting case study in marketing where they switched they went to a new demographic. So
No.
instead of targeting like blue collar guys going to like construction sites, they targeted like white girls, and they made like $300 million or something. Anyways, it's a good case study in marketing. So yeah, I carry one of those, and I'll put it down in the pack, and so it's just right there in the top's open, so I don't have to unzip anything. If I want some coffee, I just reach in there and grab it, and I'm good. Or there are little pockets on the side of the pack where you can put your cup in there too. But I like to just hang it in the backpack so it's completely secure. I don't have like a cup holder attachment or anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. So I use a Innovating the Outdoors gear hanger, which is a 3D printed gear hanger, and I really like it. It's like on like an am steel, just a piece of am steel. Locks around the tree. It's got a bow hanger on there. I hang my gun or my bow on, and it's got like 3 gear hooks on it. So I hang my backpack on that. And I always hang the backpack when I'm leaning the saddle. It's kind of like right there where I can like reach down. And whether it's a Nalgene ball like I've got here, and I don't take coffee in the woods. I'm a little bit more of like a Celsius guy, getting one of those little stick packs, 200 milligrams of caffeine, and just freaking take take one of those.
See, I'll drink coffee. I'll bring coffee in the woods on like really cold mornings because, dude, there's nothing better than cracking that sucker open.
I just don't like to brew it, so like,
warms your innards a
yeah,
little bit.
I'll just drink cold energy drink mix. My analogy, but anyways,
That's depressing.
but like again, you can't have like a cup. Like you got to have some kind of like secure, spill proof bottle or whatever that you're putting your coffee in. But
he ain't carrying a coffee mug out in the woods.
well,
What are you
he's
talking
like,
about?
I put my cup. If I think of a cup, I'm thinking of a coffee mug. Like, bro, you're in the wrong space
What?
here.
No. Oh my gosh.
So
Why
anyways-
would you think that?
But I don't call this a cup. Is that a cup?
Well, I don't know.
Is that it? Well, that's yeah.
That's
Is he
mason
carrying
jar.
a mason jar out there?
You could.
No. Okay. Anyways, but just most of your backpacks are gonna have some kind of water bottle pocket holder. Like I pretty much have been using the First Light transfer pack for the most part. Because it's a little bit colder now, carrying more of my gear in, and it's got 2 water bottle pockets, and I'll just stick it in the side there. And again, whether you have a therm or something, it works really good, and it's really easy to get to, and you don't have to make a whole bunch of movement reaching down and grabbing it. So yeah, it works easy. So don't overcomplicate stuff.
All right. This is from Michael Moore, who's from Florida. He hunts a couple different public land areas in northwest Florida. I want to know how OnX helps in these areas. Is it worth investing in? Reason I ask is the area is majority flat. Using Google Maps isn't hard to spot the different tree groups and edges, finding that diversity. Thanks, guys. I would say that the best use for OnX in a situation like that is going to be some of their, I don't know what you call them, like their premium layers. Like the acre producing oak layer is like a favorite one of mine, especially in areas like what you're hunting that are like kind of monotonous as far as terrain goes. That can be actually super useful for. I'm actually gonna end up using it. I'm gonna end up using it This spring, I'm actually going to turkey hunt in North Florida because I really don't know what the heck I'm looking at in North Florida as far as the map goes. So I'm going to use the oak layer to see where those oaks are at, what kind of oaks I'm dealing with, so I have a general idea of what I'm walking into. And there's a lot of other features like that. Like they have, I think, thermal cover for deer, which is going to be like grassy stuff, along with like other just premium layers that I like to use that just highlight stuff on the map that I might not know what it is otherwise.
Not just that, but I think something that so many people overlook is the simplisticness of using, again, the tracking feature when you're going in and out of the woods, scouting and hunting. Always have your tracking feature on.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what ground you've covered and you can kind of keep up with where you've been. And then just organizing your pins, that's huge. And I don't know if you're hunting with, let's see, Mike, I don't know if you're hunting with like a group of guys or buddies, but one thing that's been really helpful for us is you're able to organize your pins and put them in different folders for like different properties, different areas of that, and you can share a folder with a buddy so he can pull, so he can see all these pins of like what you're looking at, and also you can send tracks and all that kind of stuff through those folders. But the cool thing is you can only say it's somebody you hunt with, but you don't want to show them everything. You can just select the couple of pins you want to send him and the couple of tracks, and maybe not send him everything. But here you go. If you're trying to go in and hunt that area,
yeah, dude, bartering chips.
Yeah,
you give him a little piece of this, see what you get. Maybe give him a little another piece.
Absolutely. And I mean that's huge as well. Plus a new feature. If you're running any kind of cell cameras, Onyx has the new feature where you can actually link your cell camera apps through Onyx, where you'll get all your notifications and be able to update all your cameras, see all your cameras on the Onyx app, which is really, really nice as well. So you don't have to go through, especially if you're running a couple different cell camera brands, you don't have to go through all the different apps to kind of see what's going on.
They all just go to Onyx.
They all just go to Onyx, so it kind of organizes it. You can see all your photos there, and it's really nice.
And you can actually click on the pin and like flip through those pictures.
Yeah.
So if you got a bunch of them and it's kind of hard to keep them straight of like where each one of them's at. All right, next up, this is the last one. Chris Dotson from Arkansas. This is going to be a fun one. Hey, guys, been listening for a while and love the content. I have a question. I have a 60-acre lease in west central Arkansas, and for 7 years straight, I've killed a decent 8-point every year. This year, I've had one buck on camera in early September, have only seen one buck in the stand. Any ideas on movement this year and why it's so off for me this year? It's a 60-acre, 9-year-old pine growth, and I hunt the top on a logging road. Bottom to top of the least is a 900-foot climb, so I'm steep, and I know there's bucks. Too much sign to not be. Help. Okay. So if you've been hunting it for 7 years,
I bet you.
And it's 9 years old now, I think your pines are aging out.
Well, not that, just that. I guarantee it's a ladder stand. You sit in the same stand every time.
Yeah.
And when you do that, there's a very good chance. During the rut's a little bit different, but if you're hunting that outside the rut, if you have like a pre-hung stand, you hunt every single year consistently, deer will pattern you. Okay?
Yeah.
It just happens, okay? So if you're not hunting mobile, which you may not be able to, a whole bunch of this property if it's not her elevation change on this on 60 acres, if you're not lying, that's insane, dude. That is insane, like crazy steep on 60 acres, 900 feet change. Which, if that's the case, they probably didn't log the whole thing.
Yeah,
because they're not going to be able to log a whole side of a ridge that's 900 feet elevation change in 60 acres. Okay, so there's going to be habitat breaks in different areas at some point. Some logging roads, road beds, stuff like that we've talked on the podcast. So even though it's 60 acres, staying somewhat mobile and moving around. And also, if you're in Arkansas, I'm sure you're running some kind of bait because you can on private land in Arkansas. And if you're in west central Arkansas, you're probably not in the CWD zone. So again, you probably run bait out there. If you have your cameras on bait like that, there's been GPS studies that showcase that, like we talked about this with Dr. Michael Chamberlain, that some of these mature bucks just won't come to a bait pile. They just won't do it for whatever reason. Some might. They might come from one or two times, and that's it, and they kind of disappear. So if all your cameras are on bait piles, you need to try to move some of those cameras around as well to some of these areas that you're finding some more of this sign. Because if you have sign there's a lot of sign, there probably is a lot more bucks out there. You're just missing.
Yeah, I'd be curious if it's that steep. That sounds like where you might run into a bluff. So I'd be curious if there's a bluff running through the property, if you have a bluff gap, or if the bluff begins or ends on that 60 acres, if you could put a camera where they might be coming around the edge of that bluff.
Well, if it's west central Arkansas, that's the Washita Mountains, which is extremely steep habitat, really rocky areas. There's a lot of pines out there, definitely like a lot of pine plantations. They kind of cut the side of those ridges. So, there ought to be, it depends on, is that property kind of the lower portion of the elevation change? Is the upper portion, is it over the top of the ridge, which
Yeah.
probably is not, still 900 feet of elevation change on it. So, that all kind of plays a factor. But also on a property like that, you need to pay attention to how you're accessing. If it's 60 acres, you probably only have one way to get onto the property, then you probably have to kind of like spread out from there. So that makes it kind of tough. But if you can go in there and do any kind of work to be able to trim out other trail systems that you can walk through, not using a side by side, not using a truck, parking and then walking, you may do a little bit better as well. And again, just kind of stay mobile. And also, the guys that we know, and the greatest example of this is Alan Summerford from Alabama. He hunts a lot of small properties. He's got some big properties that he can hunt private land, but he's got a couple small properties, 40 acres or less. And he kills some big deer out there, but he only hunts it for like a few days a year during the right timing, and that's when he capitalizes on it. So he kind of lets it sit as a sanctuary. And if you're in that area of the country or that part of or Arkansas, there's probably some other public land you could maybe dive to. But if you're only hunting that 60 acres all season, you're probably putting a ton of pressure on it as well. And the deer may just not be using it a ton during daylight because it's only 60 acres. Like, a deer is not living on 60 acres, especially in that kind of habitat, in that environment.
That's a really good point. That's an excellent point. Yeah, just try to switch it up. I'd be really curious, Chris, for you to write back in and give us more context. Maybe end up, we're talking about this, kind of here towards the end of season. But how this ended up turning out for you for the rest of the season, whether you ended up seeing more deer.
He's got the end of February to bow hunt.
Well, yeah, I know. That's true. That's true. But also, like, again, I just kind of go back to if he's saying he's getting very few bucks on camera and it's kind of been an abrupt change over this year, I'd be pretty curious about hunting it again for 7 years, 9-year-old pine growth. So he started hunting it when it was like
primo.
And so it's probably been, you hit that stage in pine plantations. And it's a little bit different, like depending on where you live in the country and how fast things grow. But like down here, it's usually kind of abrupt. Like that year, that where the pine trees are almost big enough to shade out everything, but it's still nice and open underneath. And then that following growing season, they close that gap. The canopy closes, everything dies, and bam, it sucks. They might still use it a little bit, but it's not like it used to be.
Yeah, instead of bedding, it's just travel. Like it's kind of like what JT shot his buck in.
Exactly. They're no longer really bedding in it. They're just traveling through
They're just traveling through it, and then you have to be in those pines. You can't be on the edge of them. You got to be in them on the ground or 6 foot up in a tree.
Yeah.
And be able to shoot underneath all that stuff, which makes it super tough. But it's private land, so you can go through and actually probably trim, even if it's a lease, you probably can trim some of the branches on some of those pines and cut you some little shooting lanes where, whether it's a ground blind setup, something like that, where you can shoot underneath a lot of those trees. And that would work really, really well in that area.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if it's the old logging road bed that cuts through those pines, it's all kind of overgrown. You go through there and trim that sucker up, dude, and just make it a really nice travel area that deer can kind of work through there, and you set you up either stand or a ground blind, dude. You're just killing them.
Yeah, like I said, I'd be really interested to hear more about just what the lease looks like. I would love to actually see a picture of it. If you want to write back in with a map, I would love to take a look.
And also, by the way, I was gonna say, if you're in West Central Arkansas, I don't know how much you hunt with a muzzleloader, but from the guys we've interviewed that kind of hunt that general area, they always say like that muzzleloader hunt in like late October is like primo time to catch big bucks, kind of cruising for does. So if you're not taking part in muzzleloader hunting, you need to make sure you have a muzzleloader and you really focus on that as well in that property.
Yep. All right, we got a review. We're gonna close it out with, and I'm gonna make Jacob read it.
Cool, Gerald. All right, this is from LB Frazier, 5-star review titled
This
Gerald.
is Southern Outdoorsman Deep Cut.
Yeah, deep cut. So, again, appreciate everybody's leaving us 5-star written reviews. If you're a long-time listener to the podcast, or you just now found out about the podcast and you enjoy it and you're listening on Apple Podcasts, which about 70+% of you guys are, go take a couple seconds, leave us a 5-star review. And if you have a couple minutes, write us a written review as well. We try to read those off on these outro episodes. So, it's kind of starting this off. Love the show. Long-time listener, long-time caller. We got to do a call version of the podcast. Y'all did...
Wait, no, he said first-time listener, long-time caller.
Oh, wow. I just, I can't read.
Dyslexia, baby.
First-time listener, long-time caller. Y'all did a show years back. It may have had mixed reviews, but it's one of my personal favorites. Fella mentioned an encounter with a bear while hunting.
Get out of here.
And went on to mentioning old Geraldine, Alabama. Need the episode number. Keep on cranking out the quality content. Really enjoy it. Let me look that episode up real
Man, I don't know. Wait, that must have been 2019, maybe? What he's referring to is where our buddy Tyler Malone was hunting somewhere in Alabama and he saw a bear, which is really rare in Alabama. Like you do not see like a bear very often in Alabama. Is that it? Buddy.
quick. That might be it. 2021. That might be it.
All right.
Yeah, 'cause-
try out.
So try out episode 287 from October 2021. Episode 287, Licking Branches and Fall Plans. Now, I'm almost pretty certain that might be the
Yeah,
episode.
because where he brought up Geraldine First
Well,
Baptist Archery Club.
We recorded at a place that we were hunting that time of year.
Y'all are in Tennessee?
No,
Because I wasn't on that one. I don't think. I think it was you, Michael, and Tyler.
I think this is the one we did in a field watching some deer, and it was me. Yeah, me, Tyler, and Michael.
No. Because I was there. No. It's definitely not that one.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's it right there.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's it. Because that was before. That was October. So that was after you killed your doe in Tennessee that year.
Oh, that is right.
Because he was the one that I'm pretty sure he's talking about the one where you shot the. Jacob had to shoot this
I'm
poor
gonna
doe.
we're gonna list it real quick.
Well, anyways, all right. We're going to try to figure it out, and we're going to link it in the show notes below if we can figure out exactly which episode it was. But that is a hilarious episode, and y'all should go back and listen to it. So, anyways, okay. We're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna wrap it up before Jacob starts playing this on the podcast. All right. Well,
All right, just to remind everybody, appreciate everybody that has been purchasing a lot of the hats. Again, call it old school. What's the old school camo hat?
so this is from Lost Hat Co. Our buddy Kyler owns that company, and he came out with this camo. He made this camo pattern, and he named it Old School, like OLDS space COOL. Old School. Old School, baby.
Camo hat.
Yeah.
These patch hats have been selling like crazy. Again, we have still a few in stock. So if you want one of these hats, again, before turkey season gets here, as season's wrapping up, feel free to, again, order one of those along with all the other hats that we have. Appreciate all that support. Again, links down in the show notes and the show description below if you want to check out the hats. Also appreciate everybody that has submitted to be coming to the Weaver Meets Hunters Meetup event, second annual Hunters Meetup event. February 24th, Saturday, February 24th in Hartselle, Alabama. It's going to be an absolute fun event. We're going to be hosting the event, doing some live Q&As and everything at the show. Free food, free drinks, family friendly. Come on out. It's going to be an all-day event.
Bring your kids.
Buckmasters
bring
will be
your
there.
wife.
Yeah, Buckmasters will be there. They're going to be scoring deer, so you can bring any deer you want if you want to get official score for them. Also, the announcement or the scores will be announced for the big buck competition that Weavers is putting on as well, with a $1,000 cash prize for the first winner and a bunch of other cash prizes and a bunch of other prizes in general for those winners, for the like top 10, top 20 in the big buck contest. So I'm still trying to find me a buck that I want to submit for that contest. But again, if you killed a big one, even if you didn't take the deer to Weavers, all you have to do is just roll up to Weavers. Again, you can search them on Facebook to get their address, Weavers Meat Processing. And all you got to do is just roll up, take a photo with your rack. If you have the skull plate and antlers from your deer while, the hides at the taxidermist, take a photo in front of their Big Buck Hut photo booth, and you'll be entered to win for the competition. And, of course, all those deer will be scored at the event. It's going to be an awesome event. You're going to be able to see some gigantic bucks killed this year and some other deer as well at this event. So Jamie McKay has a good chance to maybe win.
I saw this picture. I was asking Stan. I was up there the other day, and I was asking Stanley. I'm like, "You think Jamie's gonna win?" He's like, "Dude,
if there was a big 8-point competition, he might have it right now."
Oh yeah, but he might have it on lock.
Yeah,
we're running out of time, Alabamians. Y'all better get after it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anyways, it's gonna be an awesome event. So, if you're still interested in coming to that event, again, February 24th, you can go over to the Southern Outdoorsman on Facebook and tagged in our kind of the description of everything. You can see the events, and it's on the event page on our Facebook page. So, again, all the details are there for you. Appreciate for everybody that's already submitted. Excited to see you guys there. It's going to be an awesome event. And other than that, we appreciate you all watching the podcast on YouTube. Appreciate y'all listening to the podcast. Appreciate y'all sharing the podcast as well. And we'll catch you back on Monday's episode from the Southern Outdoorsman podcast. And remember, guys, y'all stay Southern.